Spring game, yeah. I saw most of it on TV. A good look with 36,000 in the stands, a beautiful day, and a thrilling ball game, at least. Well, we won't necessarily call it a full-on football game, but at least it came down to a final play.
Yeah, it did. It added a little bit of excitement in there, after a first half of touch football. They started tackling there in the second half. The young guys got after it, and actually it made that second half a lot of fun to watch. There's a lot of takeaways from Saturday. Like you mentioned, it was a beautiful day. It was pretty windy though. Down on the field, the wind was really ripping. So it was. Hats off to those quarterbacks getting it done in that kind of a wind. But we learned a lot. I think I learned a lot. My main takeaway I think was Adrian Martinez really looks a step faster and really looks like he's in command of the offense. And he's got a ton of weapons now to work with. It's not just going to be the Wan'Dale Robinson show anymore. There's a lot of weaponry out there for Adrian to take advantage of. So that was a lot of fun to watch, and I think we also learned that there's a stable of running backs at Nebraska this year. The running back room looks really, really strong, and it's wide open right now. Tons and tons of competition, and that's going to have to work itself out before Nebraska takes the field, next fall.
So as you guys know, when we have incorrect information coming in the live chat, we will point that out and correct that where it says it's just me, Tim, 79. Nebraska players drafted 0. Well, that's incorrect. They had 2 players drafted. We'll get to those in just a second. We're going to stay in the spring game, but we'll get to the NFL draftees in just a second. So, brush up. All you have to do is Google that, and you can find out who was drafted for the Huskers. But we will discuss with Greg here in just a second. But we want to dive into the spring game a little bit more as it came down to the final play of the game, an untimed down. And you'd mentioned that, no tackling in the first half. And you mentioned getting more guys involved in the offense and there being more weapons. And I think right out of the gate, we got a chance to see Amari Turi catch a downfield throw and see, okay, well, this is the guy that we've all heard about, and maybe he's going to contribute big.
Well, yeah, you look at both of those, 2 guys on the edges, Samori Toure and Omar Manning. Those guys, they look the part. They look like an NFL tandem out there. That, quite frankly, we've never seen anything at Nebraska like that with the 2 guys of that caliber on the field. And it gives Martinez, a lot of options there, and that's going to make defenses have to cover all these guys, and really going to open things up for the running game and a lot of underneath stuff. You got to throw in Oliver Martin in there too as a third wide out. Those 3 guys right there are very formidable. Oliver Martin's a sneaky, quick little guy in the slot, and you know what? He's going to catch a ton of balls, and this receiving core, I'm just ecstatic by what I saw on the field. Even though it didn't really matter, it was touch football, but you could still see the talent, and it really gives Adrian Martinez a chance to throw the deep ball now. I think Nebraska kind of showed that they're putting an emphasis on downfield throws. So when you got a couple of weapons on the outside like that, big targets, sky's the limit here. And then you throw in a lot of capable backups too. This is, like I've said before, I sound like a broken record, but I've never seen this kind of talent in the wide receiver room and the running back room as a collective group ever here at Nebraska.
Really, even with some of the wide receiver tandems that we've seen in the past. We talked about it last week, where there have been some pretty good players just here in the last, few years under Mike Riley in particular, and at the end of Bo Pelini's run, where there were some NFL players playing together.
Yeah, absolutely. But, there wasn't this collective group of talent, like I'm talking about. You've always had one or two guys, but you've got five, at least 5, 6 maybe guys that can go out there and get the job done. It's just guys are just going to be fighting for reps, and there's a freshman that I think is going to play a lot and help out this team is Will Nixon. He's looked really, really good all throughout spring ball, and he showed it again on Saturday. That he's a football player. His dad's a coach down in Texas, and he really is an impressive young kid. So yeah, you think of some of those receivers of the past. Stanley Morgan, of course, comes to mind most recently. But you were lining up a younger J.D. Spielman with Stanley, a freshman J.D. Spielman, and Tyjon Lindsey would have been like the next guy you're thinking of on that team. I think we talked about last week, you got like a Kenny Bell out there. So you've had guys that are good enough to play in the league. DeMornay Pearson-L, he did a lot of things here as well. So yeah, but just with this collection, I think two actually draftable players we're talking about at wide receiver here that not just like a 7th round or 6th round. I'm talking pretty high up there. You're looking at 3rd round quality right now at both of these guys if they can maintain what we've seen here in a very short time here in Nebraska.
Pearson-L was a guy that I always expected a little bit more out of. Not that he did anything wrong, but I just thought that he was going to be more involved and be more of a primary guy in the offense. And certainly in the return game, he was spectacular, but never really. He had a nice career. I don't want to disparage it at all, but I expected him to really blossom and take off and be a major player.
Yeah, he got a little bit banged up there. It slowed him down there, where he lost most of the season there, and kind of dealt with a lot of nicks and bumps and bruises, a lot that slowed him down during his career here. But you've always seen the playmaker in him, and he's been in and out of NFL camps, every year. I think last year he was the last receiver cut by the Raiders by John Gruden. And he's played in some of those other fly-by-night leagues that we've seen here lately. But he's still, he's a talented guy, and he can help out an NFL team, and don't be surprised if you see him on somebody's roster.
Very nice, very nice. Brad, I don't know that I'm totally on board with this, but hey, Mr. Rogers, I watched the Huskers. They lacked a lot of energy. Did you notice that? I think some people are just wanting to poke the bear a little bit.
Well, that's an advantage that you get when you're down there on the field is you can see that energy there. I can attest to it. I saw a lot of energy there on Saturday. A lot of guys extremely happy to be out there in front of the fan base again. There was something that we did fail to mention was that Nebraska just had a little schedule change that they did. They finalized their upcoming schedule by adding Fordham to their schedule on that week after the Illinois game. So there won't be a bye week there, and 3 straight games before Nebraska takes on Oklahoma down in Norman now. So I think that's big. They replaced Southern Louisiana, who was kind enough to opt out of that, and they'll reschedule that game here in the future. But that rearranges Nebraska's schedule a little bit more favorably now. And that gives you a chance to go down to Norman 3-0, and I think that's kind of big for momentum if Nebraska could go down there as a 3-0 team.
Okay, so then that Southwestern Louisiana or Southeastern Louisiana game, I think it was. Yeah, so that was before that Iowa Wisconsin close, right?
November 13th was supposed to be that game. Yep.
So that'll be a nice bye before 2 tough opponents to end the season.